Hey man, what's good with y'all, bro? And today we is reacting to how this one man invented streetwear. I'm kind of, curious about this one, bro. You know me. I like my streetwear and stuff like that, bro. Without further ado, we finna tap into the history of it. We finna see what's going on.
Before there was lines outside of Supreme, before there was sneakers flipping for thousands and thousands of dollars, and before hype was even a word that people used, streetwear didn't even exist. But somehow, all of this, the drops, the resale market, and the culture can all be traced back to one individual person. He was just a surfer with a Sharpie, and the craziest part, the man who built Supreme learned directly from him. And this person would later become known as the Godfather of streetwear as we know it.
Really? That's crazy, bro. You know how in life, like, there's always a backstory to a backstory, a beginning to a beginning. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm kind of curious to see who this guy was and what he was about. If you know what I'm talking about.
So, today, streetwear is a billion-dollar industry, but it's not just clothes. It's identity, exclusivity, it's culture, and the lifestyle around it.
He ain't lying.
It's limited drops, sold to a very specific group of people who feel like they're a part of something bigger. And if you look at it, just about every brand follows the exact same formula. Supreme, Bape, Palace, Off-White, all different logos, but the same exact playbook. But the
Exactly. They all copy the same exact formula. Nah, for sure. I can get behind that.
real question is, where did that playbook or blueprint even come from? Well, it starts with a man named Sean Stussy. In the early 80s in California,
I feel like I've heard of this guy though.
surfing was taking over. And young Sean is not a designer, and he's not trying to start a fashion brand. He started out shaping surfboards at a small surf shop in California. And on each board, he wrote his last name. And it wasn't a logo, it was just his signature that he would write in Sharpie on the board. Just a way to know that Sean Stussy was the one that shaped the surfboard.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But the way that he wrote it was kind of like graffiti. It was loose, messy, and personal. It was originally just a way to tag the surfboards that he had his hands on it at some point. But here's what made it different. Nobody could replicate it. It wasn't designed in a studio, and it wasn't polished. It was just his. And without realizing it, Sean created one of the most recognizable logos in history. But then came the moment that everything changed. At one of the very early action sports trade shows, he set up a stand to sell surfboards, and the surfboards had his signature on it. So he made just a simple...
I ain't gonna lie, that logo is hard as hell though, bruh. I don't see many people rocking these type of clothes now, but I'm pretty sure it was big at a certain point in time.
black t-shirt with his signature on it, so it looked like he was established. And he only wore the t-shirt just to look official so he could sell his surfboards. And people at the trade show kept coming up to him and asking where he got the shirt and if they could buy it. They didn't ask what brand it was, they just liked the logo that was his name that he just signed on it. And at first, he refused to sell the t-shirt because it was just one that he made for himself. He was trying to sell surfboards. But he noticed that nobody was buying the surfboards, and over and over and over again, people were asking about the t-shirt. So eventually he gave in and he started writing down names of people who wanted the t-shirt. And by the end of the weekend, when the action sports trade show finally wrapped up, he sold 24 surfboards, but more importantly, he pre-sold around 1,000 t-shirts.
Wow. Wow.
But the biggest problem was the t-shirts weren't even made yet, and they weren't supposed to be made. And if you think about it, over 1,000 people bought something that wasn't even real. And you guys are gonna see a lot of coincidences like this in this video. But in the early 2000s, the owner of the hundreds did the same thing that Sean Stussy did back in the 80s. He made a t-shirt for himself and sketches of shirts on a piece of paper, and he brought them to huge retailers and basically pitched them an idea and said that he was a big established brand when he hadn't even made anything yet. And after one store agreed to buy like 100 or 200 t-shirts to stock in their store, Bobby went home and made them and then paid all of his friends to go buy them so it looked like he was an established brand. And this is almost exactly what Sean Stussy did, but first back in the 80s. And back to Sean Stussy. So at the following action sports trade show, the same one that Sean Stussy originally sold 1,000 t-shirts at, he came back prepared. He made less surfboards and more t-shirts with his name on it. And these shirts,
Which was a smart idea, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Go to where there was water, bruh.
were selling like crazy. Literally just a t-shirt with his signature on it was outselling his boards by like 100%. But it doesn't just stop there. People started noticing his style. And it wasn't just the clothes that he was selling, it was the clothes that he was wearing, and specifically his pants. You see, in the 80s, surfers had a very distinct style. It was bright, colorful tops and short shorts. And Sean's style,
I'm so glad we got rid of those, bruh. I'd be damn I see a grown man rocking some short shorts now, bruh.
was nothing like that. It was more punk, grunge, and something you would see a skater wear maybe in the 90s or early 2000s. But while they were buying these shirts with his signature on it, people kept asking about what his pants were and where they came from. And the pants he was wearing was just army surplus pants that he cut himself into chino jeans. So Sean did the same exact thing that he did at the first action sports show. He began pre-selling these pants that didn't even exist yet, that weren't even his brand, and he went out to multiple different army surplus stores and bought 300 pairs of this exact pant and cut them himself at the bottom. And he put on the finishing touches that was his signature. And literally in that exact moment, the brand Stussy was born. And it wasn't because he planned it, it was because people demanded it. What Sean was making in the 80s was nothing like any category of clothing we'd ever seen before. It definitely wasn't high fashion, and it was nothing like surfwear that was ever seen before. It was simple, functional, and timeless. And in a 1992 article from the New York Times, Sean said that everyone calls it surfwear or urban wear or surf street. It's a utilitarian kind of look. The colors are muted so they stay clean, and it's basically an attitude that reflects what's going on in the now.
I see.
And he also stated in the same interview, they're all just names. I don't put a name on it, and I don't name it on purpose. I just make basic clothes that a 10-year-old can wear and my dad can wear. And Sean Stussy never defined this, but he accidentally created the term and the style we know today as streetwear. It's a mix between young, rebellious culture, skateboarding, baggy clothes, and surfers, but also at the same time, something that cool young people could wear, but also cool enough that older people could wear it and not get made fun of. Sean Stussy literally created and pioneered the term and the style.
And that's how streetwear was born. I see. That's crazy. I remember I've seen that brand around before. I don't see many people wearing it. I mean, Buddy in the video is rocking it. Feel me? I have never rocked a piece of that clothing before, but it's just crazy to see how just like, bro, and it wasn't even like he was trying to do this on purpose either. He was just like going with the flow. It just happened to fall in his lap, and he was just like, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. We just gonna start making this little streetwear movement. Sell a couple t-shirts here, sell a couple jeans here, and we gonna be straight. And that's just how it turned out. You know what I'm saying? And then fast forward many years later, and we got plenty of brands, plenty of, you know what I'm saying, people that have copied the same formula. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they made up a certain design, or they came up with a certain logo that they thought of themselves, and put on a piece of clothing, and look how it turned out for them. So yeah, bro, it's always just crazy to see how certain people pioneer things, and then like years later, how that movement still is like kept alive. Like I think about it all the time when I think of like hip hop or just anything like, you know what I'm saying, like anything in specific genre. It's just like, yeah, bro, there was somebody who pioneered this, and without them, we might not even be, you know what I'm saying, rocking streetwear or have rap artists or anything like that. So, you know, yeah, bro, that's crazy still. Time flies though, bro. Time flies still.
Streetwear. And Stussy didn't follow any sort of fashion rules at all. In fact, he ignored them. Back in this time in the late 80s, logos on hats were literally just meant for sports teams. So when Sean put his signature on a baseball style cap, it stood out almost immediately. And as you can imagine, it completely blew up. Many streetwear brands and creatives have actually credited Sean Stussy for this whole like invention. I know it sounds crazy, just a logo on a hat, but back then people weren't doing that unless you were like a sports team. And by the late 80s, early 90s, hats made up over 20% of Stussy's business. And then Sean pushed it even further. In the year 1990, Stussy started flipping luxury logos and making it their own. Since Sean had a name that started with two S's, Sean Stussy, similar to Coco Chanel, two C's, he made the iconic interlocking S Stussy logo that was made to represent Chanel. And he even went as far as copying the Chanel perfume logo and putting that on his t-shirt. As well as, a lot of people don't know this, but he also did a Stussy Louis Vuitton inspired monogram graphic before before Supreme or anybody else did this.
That's
And at the
crazy.
time, it was straight up disrespectful. The grungy streetwear company was ripping off the logos of high-end luxury fashion design, which in the fashion world is a big no. And at the time, absolutely nobody was doing that. But later on, the same exact idea got picked up by brands like Supreme and even Chinatown Market and Bravest Studios with
Buddy paved the way for real, bruh. Buddy paved the way for real. Came through and said, let me show y'all how it's done. That's what's up, though.
their shorts. At the time, what was a rebellion became a part of this blueprint. And in the year 1989, Stussy dropped something that was simple. It was a t-shirt with a list of cities on it. Cities like New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, and Los Angeles. But the thing is, those places didn't even have stores in it. You see a shirt that says Stussy or any brand in general with a bunch of cities on it, you would assume that that's where the stores are. But Stussy stores didn't exist in those places yet. They were cities that when Sean started making a little bit of money off of his brand, he traveled to and met friends in these cities. And who are those people, you may ask? They became what was known as the International Stussy Tribe. And at the time, they weren't influencers or ambassadors, just creatives and friends of Sean when he was traveling the world. They were people that Sean felt like were shaping the culture in those cities. And these people included James Jebbia of New York City and Eddie Cruz from New York City, which went on to start the brand Undefeated. Yeah, like the green Air Jordan 4s that resell for like $1,000, that Undefeated. Another
That's
person
crazy.
in the Stussy tribe was Paul Middleman, which was an American streetwear designer that would later go on to work with brands like Adidas, Nike, Burton, Polo, Gap, Tommy Hilfiger, Undefeated, and Converse. And the craziest
Buddy had his fingers in all types of plates, bruh. Buddy had his hands in different bowls, mixing and turning and cutting shit up. Cooking here, cooking there. That's what's up, bro. I can't be mad at a nigga that's, you know what I'm saying, playing his charades, playing his cards right. If you know what I'm talking about, bro. Shout out to Buddy.
in my opinion, of them all in the Stussy tribe was a man that Sean Stussy met in Tokyo, and that was Hiroshi Fujiwara, which, if you don't know that name, that is the guy who started Fragment Design, like the Travis Scott Fragment collabs or the Fragment Nike collabs. But Hiroshi was also the mentor of Nigo, the man who started Bathing Ape. As a matter of fact, the name Nigo
See how it all just connects, bro? See how far Bape has gone, though?
is a nickname that was given to him that means number 2. People referred to him as pretty much the younger brother of Hiroshi Fujiwara. And if you want to go even deeper, the very first Bape samples were sold in a retail store owned by Hiroshi Fujiwara. It was a small, tiny store called Nowhere in 1993. And that was what started the entire Bathing Ape brand. But Hiroshi Fujiwara was just a man that Sean Stussy met while traveling the world. And there's plenty of other names that are in the Stussy tribe that are important, like DJs and music artists, but for the sake of this video and connecting all the dots, those are just the main streetwear people. And this wasn't marketing or ambassadors, these were literally just friends that Sean met along the way. This was Sean's community that he curated himself. And this is what made Stussy global, and these people helped bring Stussy to other countries. And this was before global brands were even a thing. But then comes the moment that most people don't even know about. In the early 90s, Sean Stussy was very particular about selling his clothes and where he sold his clothes. He wanted it to be limited. He wanted it to be something that not everybody could just walk into the store and buy. You had to be a part of like the club.
Interesting.
Like the underground scene. Well, there was a man in New York City that convinced Sean Stussy to open a store in New York and not just stay in California. So Sean Stussy decided to open up a store in New York City. And working there was a young man named James Jebbia. You can see in this old archive footage,
New York City is the spot for their like businesses and stuff, especially like clothing stores and all that, bro. I feel like New York City might be that hot spot for stuff like that. No cap. Like I feel like it's just like the hot spot for like the fashion scene. That and like Paris and whatnot, but
that in an interview, he is labeled as the manager of the Stussy store in New York City when they opened. James Jebbia helped run and open the store while learning how it all worked. The limited releases, the community, the culture first approach, and he watched the blueprint unfold in real time. And just a few years later, that manager of the Stussy New York City store decided to go a few blocks down the street and open his own store. And in that moment, the head manager of the Stussy NYC store, James Jebbia, he opened the brand called Supreme. Supreme. And if you look at the Supreme blueprint, it's very similar to the knowledge that James soaked up from Sean Stussy and the New York City store. The community, the grungy look, the exclusivity, all of it came from the free game working for Sean Stussy. And by the 1990s, Stussy was doing over $17 million in revenue. And it had no big marketing campaigns, no influencers. It was literally just signatures on a t-shirt and a point of view. And what started as custom surfboards turned into a global movement. And the formula, it never really changed. It just got copied over and over throughout the years. And this same exact blueprint that you see with Supreme, Bathing Ape, Off-White, Fragment, all these other companies, it all revolves around the same exact formula or blueprint that was created by Sean Stussy. You can't just go out and make a brand that nobody's ever heard of and slap the logo on a t-shirt and sell it for $100. When it comes to streetwear or hype culture, the most important thing is the community and the environment. It's like being a part of
Facts. You gotta have a loyal fan base, bro. That's just how everything works. That's how anything works.
a club, like being a part of the cool kids. Wearing Stussy or Supreme or Bape meant that you were in the know, like you knew what this was and you were a part of this little niche community that nobody knew about. And to some people it sounds crazy to spend $100, $200 or $1,000 on a t-shirt with a logo on it, but when it comes to that small niche community, you are somebody, and that is hype culture. And in 2026, streetwear looks a little bit different. It's louder, it's faster, it's more commercial, but at its core, it's all the same idea. Limited products, strong identity, and real culture.
He's right, you know.
And all of it ties back to one guy and just one signature on a surfboard. He didn't try to create a multi-billion-dollar brand, and he didn't try to create hype or scarcity, but he did anyway by accident. Before Bape, Supreme, or even the term streetwear was a thing, there was Sean Stussy, the godfather of streetwear. And that pretty much wraps up today's video. I hope you guys—
Alright, man, we all learned something new today. That's what's up, bro. It's always good to go back and take a look at history. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. We gone. Sleaxzegang. We gonna do it to him, guys. Good. We give God all the glory. We gone.